the next generation of lifestyle awareness that will transform your life significantly. Hi, welcome to Living Wow Out Loud. I'm your host, CallyRae, founder of the Living Wow Center and author of the book, 8 Lessons Lupus Taught Me from Surviving to Thriving with Autoimmune Diseases. Living Wow is a lifestyle of choice and intention that was born from the truths that, number 1, your body is designed to heal if you give it the environment to do so. Number 2, you don't need a label or permission to be the expert in your own body. And number 3, more than 80% of all diseases can be prevented or reversed by lifestyle. Unfortunately, this isn't what we're taught in our standard American diet and lifestyle culture. This podcast is a voice of hope and community where you will learn how to live a life of thriving that honors and embraces those 3 truths. Though you are an individual, you are not alone, and you can thrive living wow too. Welcome back to Living Wow Out Loud. I'm your host, CallyRae, and today we are going to give a nod to the season change, specifically the autumn season change here in the Northern Hemisphere. Historically, I'll be honest, this is my least favorite time of year, and the reason is because I would get sick every single year at this time. So coming into September, October, I would always get some sort of respiratory sinus upper infection, and then it would move down into my chest and turn into bronchitis, even pneumonia. I would have that deep bronchial cough that would just hang with me all through the winter and wouldn't resolve until usually April or May. And so that whole autumn and winter season was just sick and uncomfortable, and I dread it every year. I'm not alone. You've all heard of flu season, which is very common. It's a sad season that happens every year. I say sad because that's the standard American diet and lifestyle. That's our culture, right? We prepare for the flu season. It's a thing. It's just when everyone gets sick through those winter months until it's not. I'm happy to say that I say historically because I don't do that anymore. I haven't participated in the flu season for years, basically since I learned about and embraced seasonal change. When I understood the transition from summer to fall, and recognize what that means. So today I want to share that with you because it's really foundational to living wow is living with the seasons. And this particular season, I feel like, especially for me, is a hard one to transition because I tend to run at full throttle. I like to be on, and SAD is very much on. SAD is very supportive of that failure when we get into fall. Autumn is signaled by the autumnal equinox, and it's nicknamed fall because that's the time when the trees lose their leaves and it marks that season change. So we have very distinct signals that tell us that this season change is upon us, but yet so many of us, myself included, for decades, just completely missed the season change. And I don't want to say completely missed, like you're thinking, what? The leaves are beautiful. We drive and look at the leaves and we get pumpkin flavored whatever, right? Yes, we go to the pumpkin patch and those are recognizing season change. But are you recognizing season change in your lifestyle? If we take some cues from nature, we can learn exactly how to thrive through this seasonal transition and avoid the sad experience of flu season. By recognizing the triggers of SAD, we can also avoid them and be able to take the cues from nature and recognize the triggers of SAD and be able to support our immune system so that when things do come around, we're able to have an immune system that's strong and that will protect us from the infection, the flu, the cold, the illness, whatever disease is coming at us. We'll have the ability to handle it because our immune system will be working properly. So what are the cues from nature? There's 3 really obvious cues that I try to live by. And the first cue that I watch is the plants and crops. They're done producing, they're done growing, and it's time to harvest. It's time to take in all that they accomplished in the summer. So number 1 is recognizing that they're done growing and it's time to harvest it. That's the first cue from nature that is so obvious. The second cue from nature is that animals begin to store food and they begin to nest and fortify their shelter so that they will be ready when there's less. So just think about a squirrel, right? They are a really good example of what it looks like to store up and to get things ready, tucked away, put away, warmed up and ready to go so that they can settle in and survive the winter. Things are not as available to them in the winter and they know that. So they go about harvesting and preserving and storing so that they will have what they need throughout the more harsh winter months when less food is available. The third cue of nature that we can watch and enjoy is watching the plants shed their leaves, right? The change of colors and the shedding of the leaves, and the vines die back. And the animals do the opposite. Animals begin to grow thicker coats and eat more in preparation, again, knowing that food will be more scarce in the winter and they will need to be prepared for that. I always joke that I should be a bear because I love to eat and get fat and then go to sleep, and just when I wake up it's spring. And that used to be how I would cope with, or what I thought would be a great way to cope with that winter season that I just was sick all the time. So if I could just sleep through it, it would be so much easier. I don't feel that way anymore. I appreciate it far more than I used to. And it's because autumn is 100% about preparation and preservation. If we miss those cues and we just continue in full growth, in full throttle, in full always on, we will be shut down when the flu comes around. If we miss the cues for the preservation and the slowing down, if we miss those cues from nature, then when those triggers of SAD come, we will be taken out with illness because that's nature. If we miss the cues and continue in this full throttle, full growth mode of summer, then we will be caught off guard when those triggers of SAD come, and our immune systems will not be prepared, and we will be participating in this flu season. So what are the SAD triggers that we need to be aware of so they don't take us down? Number 1 is stress and overscheduling. This is so common this time of year. Everybody goes back to school. We're involved in sports. We're involved in activities. We're involved in everything. And it's what we should be doing, what everybody else is doing, and we're just doing. Number 2 trigger is sugar. Everywhere, sugar. Going back to school, candy reinforcements everywhere. Everything you do, here's a candy to reward you for doing good. We have Halloween, an entire holiday that is based around sugar. We have the holidays shortly thereafter where there's lots of baked goodies and treats and emotional eating. It's all just a perfect storm for an immune system that's already running on overdrive. And then ironically, the third trigger is that always on. Our system is always on. Our lights are always on. Our computers, our screens, our phones, we are always on. We're always accessible. Always being available and always being on. That disregard for that rhythm of slowing down, that is definitely a trigger that will, if we don't slow down, nature will slow us down. And that's just the truth. So how do we thrive through this autumn season change? By taking those cues from nature. 3 main ways that we can adjust our lifestyle and honor the season, and the resulting outcome is a completely different result. So how do we thrive in that autumn season change? Number 1, you take cues from nature. So you're going to look and see, what can you take away from your summer growth? What did you produce or grow or learn that you can store away, that you can preserve to pull out later when you need it? What can you trade or borrow or buy that is something that maybe you didn't grow or you didn't have, but you want or you need to get you through this season? Now is the time to do that. That's that preservation and that preparation. You need to prepare. You need to preserve what you've already worked so hard for and be ready for that season change. This is a transition season. Again, think of the squirrels. They are just the best example of that. That's where the term squirreling away comes from. Squirreling away their nuts and seeds for the winter months and making sure that they've got lots of insulation and padding, taking all of the leaves and the stuff on the ground that they can use to make their home cozy and warm, and then hunkering down. And you don't see them out running around when there's no leaves on the trees and no food to eat. They're in their nest, they're sleeping, they're resting in the winter because they prepared in the fall. The second thing that we can do that will help us thrive with the autumn season specifically is getting our biorhythm in sync with nature, not in sync with sad. So that means we're going to slow our roll just a bit. We're going to manage our energy and our calendars. We're going to do the things that matter and get rid of the things that don't. We're not going to expend extra energy. We're going to finish projects rather than start new projects. And as you pump the brakes a little bit on your growth, you're going to be honoring that season change, those shorter days, that slower pace. And it's going to provide you that opportunity for more rest and restore that's going to happen overnight. And then finally, transition your diet. Change what you're eating to reflect what is in the season. Just like the animals are eating more so that they can put on weight to get through the winter, we're going to eat for the seasons. What is available? Forget that everything is available all the time in the grocery store and eat the things that are supporting your immune system in this season. Those are things like root vegetables, things like grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, pumpkins, hardy greens, herbs and spices. All of those warming herbs and foods that tend to be eaten more cooked than raw. That's warming our bodies and getting us ready for those colder temperatures and that more scarce availability. And then finally, recognizing that sugar is a bomb to your immune system. And if you put that bomb in there, you will not have the immune system to protect you when those flus and colds and infections come around, because your immune system is completely obliterated with sugar. So be aware of the sugar and consume the foods that are autumn honoring foods. What is so cool is that you can completely opt out of flu season. Did you know that? You can completely have the choice to choose to actively participate in the autumn season transition. And by doing so, you're preparing and preserving and honoring that season change so that your body is in the optimal condition for your immune system to fight off whatever is going around in the sad culture that you're choosing not to participate in. So give it a try. What have you got to lose? Maybe you'll actually be able to use some sick days as vacation days instead. That would be pretty exciting. Let the harvest, preparation, and preservation begin. Happy fall, y'all. Till next time, shine on. Hey, if you find value here on the Living Wow Out Loud podcast, will you please share it with your friends and take a minute to rate it on the platform that you're listening on? That's how we live wow out loud. You know that more people need hope and they need the messages shared. And that's how we get recognized among all the noise. This is where you find your voice. Will you please share and subscribe and rate so that we can grow?